Hello, hello. Welcome to this live interactive session 2 of this course, Introduction to Pāṇinian Grammar. Good afternoon, everybody, and I'll try to address some of the questions that you have already posted. In addition, I will also address some other questions that you might want to ask now and get some clarifications or get your doubts cleared. So, are there any questions that you want to ask me now, or should I begin addressing some questions that I have received on the forum? If you have any questions, please post them on the in the chat box, and I'll also try to answer. Or what I'll do is I'll begin with the earlier questions, and in the meanwhile, if you post another question, I can address it little later. So the first question is about the description of the pratyahara at, which is in the description of which I say, why is la and her? I mean, I say that at means all vowels plus semi-vowels minus la plus her. So why is la, the question is, why is la and her omitted in at when they clearly are in sutras? Her in Sutra 5. So her is definitely not omitted, and that is the reason why there is this plus sign. And obviously the reference is semi-vowels minus la, and her is not at all a semi-vowel, so her is different from the previously stated set of sounds. So at stands for all vowels, meaning ach, I mean the pratyahara ach. Then you also have the semi-vowels, or the semi-vowels, but not all semi-vowels are included in the pratyahara at. Only ya, va and ra are included, and that is the reason why the bullet says semi-vowels minus la. That is that. That is the reference to that set of semi-vowels. And since her belongs to a different category, it is mentioned with a plus sign, plus her. So that is what the pratyahara at stands for. I hope this is clear. Once again, I repeat, the pratyahara at refers to all vowels plus semi-vowels minus la. Not all semi-vowels are referred to by the pratyahara at. Only ya, va and ra are referred to by or are part of the pratyahara at. And therefore I am saying semi-vowels minus la. And there is also her, so that's why I am saying plus her. So the bullet clearly then says plus her. Is this clear to you? I hope this is clear. In the meanwhile, I also see that there is another question in the chat box. In today's time, is it really needed to learn Ashtadhyayi by heart, or just understanding it and referring to the printed version whenever needed is enough? These are both open-ended questions. And in today's time, is it really needed to learn Ashtadhyayi by a heart? Um, well, yes, it is needed to learn Ashtadhyayi by heart, but you are saying or, so that or is very interesting, or just understanding it and referring to the printed version whenever needed is enough. I think you should have removed or, and I will remove or, and I will say that if you want to have the best of the experiences, you should do both. You should learn Ashtadhyayi by heart, and you should also understand it and refer to the printed version or the other. Obviously, you will have to refer to the printed version or soft version also whenever you need it. But if you don't want to have that best of the experiences, and I don't imagine anybody not wanting to have that experience, but suppose there are some limitations, yes, then probably you can. But I'm feeling very sad to say this, but still, my heart is becoming very heavy to say this, that you might not actually learn complete Ashtadhyayi by heart, and you may just refer to the sutras whenever needed. But even then, I'm only saying that part of the Ashtadhyayi you should learn by heart. It has its own effects. It has its own merits. Okay, I'll go back to the earlier questions. One of the questions is about Rudrashtadhyayi. So recently I came across Rudrashtadhyayi, a Vedic composition. Has Panini taken any inspiration from this Vedic composition? Has he tried to structure it or organize it in a fashion similar to Rudrashtadhyayi? We know Panini kind of sought, sought blessings from Shiva the way he got Maheshwara Sutras. Some light on this. So Rudrashtadhyayi, Rudrashtadhyayi is a different text altogether, and the text of Rudrashtadhyayi that I have seen pertains to the Vedic mantras. Rudrashtadhyayi related to Yajurveda, and it has got very little to do with linguistic analysis per se. This text is called Ashtadhyayi, which is devoted purely and solely to the analysis of Sanskrit language, analysis, generation, any number of linguistic explanations to which this text is devoted. So there is difference. If you are linking these two simply because of the commonality of the word Ashtadhyayi, then I think I request you to restrict that comparison only up to this level, because there is a difference which we should all should recognize. Panini did seek blessings of Shiva according to our tradition. He got Maheshwara Sutras from Lord Shiva, and there is a beautiful verse which describes this particular phenomenon. How he composed the Shiva Sutra Jala. So, Nanadadhakkam Nava Panchavaram Uddhartu Kamas Sanakadi Siddhan Etad Vimarshe Shiva Sutra Jalam. That is the verse from Nandikeshwara Kashika. Then there is, yes, a very good comment saying that having the live sessions on YouTube platform restricts us from asking questions in direct conversation way. Can we have these sessions in more interactive methods? I think the format that we have of the courses, as of now, as far as I know, they follow this particular. Definitely ask if something else can be done where more interactive sessions can be held. I would really love to participate in these sessions. Personally, if you ask me, I can have a Google Meet or some such session to discuss this, but officially we will have to follow this rule, I think. We'll have to follow this method. Okay. And there is a question, I'll come back to this. So assignment 2, Vyakarana taken as Vedanga is face or mouth as part of the body. Answer should be face or mouth. So mukha is the word, right? Mukha. Anyway, I don't have the text of the assignment with me right now. I will check on this and will reply. Now going to the earlier questions. While reciting second line, there is Syustam Namami, which you broke as Syustam and Namami. What is the logic? Is it only related to phonetics or is it part of Sandhi Samasa? So Syustam Namami is broken into Syuhu or Syus, Tam and Namami. So the logic behind this is the logic is related to phonetics as well as the morphology of Sanskrit, where Syus is the verbal form which is the form of Asa, and that is the reason why this will be separated from Tam. And so this is part of Sandhi, yes. This is not Samasa, this is definitely Sandhi, and this is also, the logic is also related to phonetics. I'll proceed with the next question. We know consonant arrangement is scientific. This arrangement was first given by Pāṇini, or is it described, or did it exist before Pāṇini? So the arrangement of sounds, what is known as sound inventory, was inherited by Panini as well. And we get several clues about this even in the text of Ashtadhyayi. In fact, it is this sound inventory which was rearranged in the form of the 14 sutras. And the authorship of the 14 sutras is ascribed to, let's say, Lord Shiva, from whose Damaru these 14 sutras seem to have originated. So the arrangement of the consonants was pre-Pāṇinian as far as the evidence is concerned. The Matraka Patha as is known. It was arranged by the grammarian in the form of these pratyaharas. Okay, we can also say that the rearrangement of these 14 sutras in this particular way was done in order to account for the linguistic usage in as brief a manner as possible. This is what we have said, and I still say that. So yes, the arrangement in the form of the 14 sutras, as far as Patanjali is concerned, because he says in the Mahabhashya that if the Bhagavan wanted to account for some more data and he wanted the particular letter to appear in many places, he would have done that, or he should do that. That also shows some amount of flexibility and then some amount of um, arrangement, decision making as far as a rearrangement decision as far as the 14 sutras are concerned, which are based on some earlier Matraka Patha. Then the next question is it only such marker in whole of Sanskrit grammar? When one speaks about pratyahara, is there no other such termination? Okay, here is another question, a general question. While pronouncing the word Brahma, is it Brahma or Brahma? Any Shastra which explains this? Yes, if you look at the derivation given in the Pāṇinian grammatical tradition of this word, it will be able to tell you what sort of sequence exists in this particular word, which is very clear. The first letter is H and then there is M. So it should be, if you want to follow the sequence while pronouncing, you will have to say H first and then M first, Brahma. This is how you will have to say. It is a different matter that in different regions, people follow different regional practices. And you have Brahma being commonly used as a pronunciation to refer to this particular word that you have written, Brahma. And there are several words in Sanskrit in which the sequence of H followed by a consonant which is nasal appears. One example that springs to my mind is H followed by N, which has N. H followed by M. There are several other examples in the initial position. This is the final position, but also in the initial position. There is a verbal root Malhar. So H comes first, then comes ma. Similarly, there are words like Brahma which have this particular feature. Okay. Then there is another question. In Lut Lakar, future tense, in some words Sya is used and in some Shya is used. Can you kindly guide to the 20 Sutra which refers to the reason for this? Yes, certainly. And the sutra belongs to the third pada of the 8th chapter, 8.3.58, I think. And the sutra is Adesha Pratyayayoho, which says that when sa in this particular suffix, sya, occurs immediately after in, which is all vowels plus all semi-vowels plus her, and also the consonants in the k class. And then there are some more conditions that are put. If this occurs to be part of a pratyaya, and if it is not at the end of the pada, then this becomes sh, which is what is happening over here. When it is not followed by these conditions, s does not become sh. So this is conditioned. And I think by now, when I say condition or environment, I think you are aware of, I think you are aware of the environments which are posed by the fifth case as well as the seventh case. The fifth case talks about the environment which appears on the left hand side, and the seventh case talks about the environment which appears on the right hand side, which which acts as an essential condition for any given rule to apply. And so this can be substituted by sh only in such conditions and not randomly. So for example, the lit lakara of let's say ada and lit lakara for let's say vrita vartsyati vridha vartsyati does not have sa becoming sh because there is no in, neither ku, and so sa remains as it is. But when the grammar, Pāṇinian grammar postulates the suffix, the pratyaya, with which you have to start the derivation process, that pratyaya is sya. And then there is a substitution of sa becoming sh, which is happening not just in case of sya, but in case of several other pratyayas as well. And so Pāṇini is able to describe all of that by this sutra Adesha Pratyayayoho. Okay, let me go ahead. So this question of reference question 6 of example 4, does the it in question in relation to the dhatu part or does it refer to the suffix part? Because in Shanach 133 and 138 apply to mark the it, both of which are absent. I will come back to you on this by checking this question. Then we have another question. It is becoming little difficult to relate between the application part of word formation or grammatical components without having a certain degree of literary basis of Sanskrit. Yeah. However, I would request you to not worry too much about this, because if you look at the questions that are asked in the assignment, you are given certain information, some data, and either it could be in the form of Sanskrit sentence or in the variable format. And then you are tested on the basis of the understanding of Pāṇinian grammar. So in my normal classes, also I tell that if I ask you to convert certain information in the form of a pratyahara, and if I ask you to convert that information in the form of not just a pratyahara but also a sutra with cases, etc., I don't test you on how good you are in Sanskrit. You shouldn't be able to, um, you should be able to write the proper number of the case. And it doesn't matter if you're not able to, decline that particular form in proper Sanskrit. So that is not what I am testing, and that is not what I want you to have as a background. Clearly, that is very much clear in my mind. So please don't worry about this, about the literary basis of Sanskrit. Don't worry about that. But please concentrate on the points that have been stated in the course, because what I definitely want from you is the analytical knack. So suppose some data is given to you, some methodology is already tested and already stated. Now you should be able to apply that methodology to that data. That's all. I think that is very crucial, that is very important. Just as in cricket, they say that you should have a cricket brain, so also I would request you to develop, some of the course material will be helpful to you to develop this Vyakarana brain, which once if got, once obtained through this training will be able to enable you to, you know, track down various kinds of applications, and so you uh, don't require the literary basis of Sanskrit. That's what I think. In fact, it may cause some disturbances also. So that could be sometimes unnecessary also. Okay, then there is regarding, it is clear, sir. It refers to group of termination. Okay. Is it essential to acquire some basic Sanskrit language skill in order to understand the grammatical components? How can we work upon this? So it is not essential, because the examples are given from Sanskrit, obviously. So if you understand what are the grammatical components, all you need to use is, in order to know this, all you need to use is the sense of detecting things. So just the sense of what is called common sense also, and the analytical sense. Suppose there are two elements given to you, or let's say four elements are given to you, and two on the one side, two on the other side, and the elements on the left hand side there is something common, and the right hand side there is something common, and if that it is stated that these two are related, then you will obviously relate what is common with the common, but you cannot do it until you get some contrast. So once you get the contrast, so suppose in the next line amongst the two words there is one word which is different. And so in the second column, in the second line, if the second word also happens to be different, then you link that different word in each column with each other. And this is how you will progress. This is how you will do the analysis. This is what is required. And I don't think you require any language knowledge to do this. All you need to do is to apply some common sense, to apply some basic sense of language, that's all. It could be of any language. Or I would say not just, not just any language, but also any system of symbols. How do you understand the system of symbols? So that knowledge, that sense will help you in this regard. So I don't think it is essential to acquire. If you have, yes, but if you have additional knowledge of Sanskrit Sandhis and so on and so forth, I would request you to and require you to bring it maybe later on when I introduce the concepts. Remember, this is highly technical, and when some technical aspects are introduced, please try to um, please try to keep certain other concepts which are not introduced right now out, because they will be introduced little later, because we are studying certain concepts step by step. So perhaps some detailed explanation of some phenomena will be provided to you later on, perhaps also in the advanced level course. Right now you are getting introduced. The purpose of introducing you to this subject is going on, and that's why we are introducing and grasping those concepts as they are taught seems to be quite relevant and quite important. I request you to follow this particular line of thought. However, I know that there will be questions and there will be doubts, there will be clarifications, and I'm all here to help you resolve those doubts and clarifications and so on. Okay? Yeah. So there is a question in the week 3 assignment. There seems to be some errors such as in option such as in option 3 of the first question. In the last options of the third and sixth questions, I may be wrong, please clarify. So the point is that this is a multiple choice question, and so you may have to choose only one. So one of the options is correct. 3 out of the 4 options are supposed to be incorrect. Only one option is correct. So if the question is immediately before 4, 3, 2 and 1, substitute 3 by 1. If this is to be converted in the form of a pratyahara, a sutra containing pratyaharas, there are 4 options given to you, and amongst them only one is correct. So I think if the question pertains to that level, I think that problem can be easily resolved. Then, yes. So there is one more question posed by Nalini Keshavamurthy madam, and she says, it is stated that if sarva denotes all and not one, it is considered a sarvanama and has to be declined as given in the table. Vishwa belongs to Sarvadigana and hence a sarvanama, but in the question it denotes a particular boy and does not denote all. Then why should we use this Vishwasmai? Shouldn't we be using Vishvaya? Yes, you should be, I mean, that is the question. That is what I'm testing. The question is testing. I mean, so Vishvasmai should be incorrect and Vishvaya should be correct. Because here we are not referring to all, but we are referring to one particular boy, and then yeah, then it does it then it ceases to be a sarvanama. That is the point. Okay, in assignment 1, question number 7, the verbal element es in English corresponds to a third person singular subject. The corresponding verbal element in Sanskrit is ti. The answer given is ti o. What is o? Yeah, so o is occurring in the noun, that final element noun. So that is common. So wherever there is es, please check there is this t in the verb and o in the noun. So I think that is what is intended for you to observe. See, these questions are bringing out points which will be explained later on. Then assignment 1, question number 12. In Ramesho Pustakam Patati and Ramesha Pustakam Patati, the difference is that there is a Visarga Sandhi in the first sentence. Is a Sandhi compulsory in Sanskrit? Is it not according to the Vivaksha of Vakta? So the point here is that Rameshaha Pustakam Patati and Ramesho Pustakam Patati. So I think what is being asked in the assignment is that if Ramesha replaces this earlier used word and Pustaka is also replacing something, then similar to these data, what would be the sentence that would be derived? So this is as simple as that. You just have to write a sentence which is common, which is similar to the data that is provided to you. So I think the data that is provided has this O at the end. Whether it is correct or incorrect, grammatically, Sanskrit grammar rules apply there or not, Sandhi, etc. applies there or not, that is not what is intended. If you read the question carefully, I think you will definitely get this particular sense. This is the idea. Okay, if I have to go back to this question about face and this mukha, about what is this? Vyakarana taken as Vedanga is face or mouth as part of the body. Answer should be face or mouth. So I think there are four answers given to you. Amongst them, face seems to be the one that is. So eye, face, ear and hand. Amongst them, face seems to be the choice. So mukha refers to just that oral cavity which is used to which is used for the purpose of eating. That is all right. But mukha also refers to the entire uh, head, face, which is what is visible. And in that sense, the word face is used. So similarly, if we can have, let me see if we can have the exercise number 4 and question 6. I'll try to address that also. That is week 4, but I think the answers are yet to be out, right? So I may explain, but I may not be able to give you the meaning, the answer, I think. Anyway, huh. No, no. So okay. About this, question on Vishwa, I request you to read the question. I think the question says which form will not be generated, right? I think that is the question. So I know which form, if the question is, yeah. So please read the question. So 4-1 should be Sarvaya, but am I asking you to give me the correct forms of Sarva in that sense, or is the question saying which form will not be term correct? Okay, so let me go. Can we be heard here as well? I don't know. I would like to hear you, but I don't know. Then there is a question about the distinction made between object language and the meta language. Typically, the meta language sutras are explained in terms of their functions, say of substitution, etc., as far as I know. But what is the difference with how the sutra may be explained in object language? So, what we are actually dealing with is understanding the meta language and its functions and its features, which explains the object language phenomena. So the job is, oh, it says fill in the right 4-1 form of Vishwa, is it? Wait a second, I'll check and come back, huh? Because right now I don't have it, the text of it with me. So I will check. Okay. So, yeah. So I was talking about the difference between the object language and the meta language, and that is what we are clear on. So what is the difference between how the sutra may be explained in object language? So this is a different question that probably we are not dealing with here. We know that Sanskrit as an object language was spoken at some point in time, and the meta language, it tries to explain that object language, and we are trying to understand the features of the meta language, and that will help us understand the object language better. So Vishwa is someone's name and not a Sarvanama. Yeah, that is true. That's what I'm saying. Vishvaya is the 4-1 form in this case where Vishwa is the name of a boy. So I'll have to check if there is something wrong in the assignment, in the linkage of the answer. I'll have to check. So I'm happy that you have got the point that the question wanted to convey. Okay, that if Vishwa is the name of a boy, then it ceases to be a Sarvanama. Because this is no more a Sarvanama. This is no more the name of everybody. This becomes the name of an individual, and so there is no, this ceases to be a Sarvanama. Then it becomes just like another noun, and so its 4-1 form should be Vishbhaya. I think if this is the case, I think you have got the right nerve of the question. You have got the question, but I'm still not very sure about the wording of the sutra. I'll check it once again, and the linkage of the answer also, because I remember to have said that which form which one of the following will not be the form, something like that. I don't remember that completely, so I'm saying I'll check it and come back to you. Okay, so I think we have few more minutes, and I can take some more questions. One of them is vibhaktis for dhatus mentioned in Dhatu Patha. So vibhaktis for dhatus are not mentioned in the Dhatu Patha. I mean, the vibhaktis are mentioned in the Sutra Patha. The Dhatu Patha mentions the dhatus. Dhatu Patha is a list of verbal roots. However, there are some statements which indicate, which are part of the Dhatu Patha, which indicate which vibhaktis are to be added, which set of vibhaktis are to be added after a particular verbal root. That is clearly stated, that the link or that clue is clearly given in the Dhatu Patha. And I think when we look at the text, we read such lines, and that allows the grammar to add particular kinds of particular set of suffixes. Okay, there is one more question. You have been saying that explanation on grammatical concept will be looked into detail later. Why then assignment questions are completely on grammar, not on factual things you are presenting? The simple answer to this question is because we are doing a course on Pāṇinian grammar, and not all grammatical things can come right from the beginning. It has to come step by step. But before that, we can do the general analysis of the data. In order to do the analysis of the data in a non-technical manner does not require the grammatical concepts. And through these assignments, precisely this is what I am aiming to do. Like, let's take the example of this server and Vishwa. So the data is provided to you, and I am simply asking you to compare, and I'm providing some conditions, and I'm also saying that if these conditions are met or not met, then what will happen to the forms. So I think, yeah, this is grammar. The subject has to be grammar, but without introducing too many technical concepts, I think I have conveyed what I wanted to about this term sarvanama, and I think you have grasped that very correctly. Okay, that is the whole point. So that is the reason why the data is provided to you. Okay, they why then assignment questions are completely on grammar, because they are supposed to be on grammar. They are supposed to be on grammar, and that is the reason why most of them they are on grammar. However, in the initial assignments, they are not involving too many technical terms. As far as the pratyaharas are concerned, then there will be some technicality and it will grow. But before, there is just the data that is given to you, and data analysis is required on your part. Can you share the English translation of this shloka Anadi Nidhanam? Yes, you can also find this in the English translations of Vakyabadiya, which are available online. You may find them at archive.org. Hmm. Okay. Why have you started the topic with dhatu, verbal roots? Well, Ashtadhyayi is most famous for starting with Maheshwara Sutra, which introduces Varnamala. So I started with the Dhatu Patha because that is an accessory to the Ashtadhyayi. And I wanted to show you the text with which we deal. So a, a prima facie introduction at least should be there. And that is the reason why I showed you the text of Dhatu Patha. But remember, I also showed you the text of Sutra Patha. And remember, I also showed you the Pratyahara Sutras. And now you must have also, after having studied the metalinguistic feature of the Pāṇinian grammar, you must have also seen that the Varnamala and its rearrangement is also very much there. So can I be heard, sir? Well, yes, I would like to hear you, but I don't know if this is possible here. Perhaps not possible in this platform. Sir, you have introduced Dhatu Patha, Gana Patha, etc. But what is this Laghu Patha and Vriddhi Patha? So I will look into these two words, Laghu Patha and Vriddhi Patha, and come back to you. So you use the word markers. Can it be directly translated to mean matras, rasva, dirgha and pluta? No. Marker is to be translated only as it or anubandha. That's all, and not matra. Marker does not mean matra in this context. Then can you give an example for the system thus formed? If I take a guess, could it be one complete sentence or one sutra or one shloka? So we are going to look at, when we deal with the concept of compositionality, we will deal with this particular question, I think. So I'm very thankful to you for raising all these questions. Some of these questions will, I hope, will be clarified in the coming lectures. Okay, is the form bhavase possible for bhudhatu? It is given as one of the forms generated using parasmaipada verbal roots. So I request you once again to, so if this is the case, then yes, we cannot derive bhavase. Bhavase is not a parasmaipada form. But please, I request you to look at the question. Bhavase, I believe, I don't have the text with me once again right now. I believe that the question has some options amongst which Bhavase happens to be one. And here I am not assuming any previous knowledge of Parasmaipada or Atmanepada. Only the forms are stated. You have to look at the table and the table in which the forms are given, and then probably you have to judge which one is Parasmaipada, which one is Atmanepada. So Bhavase is given as one of the options. And you have to choose one of the four options. But if I say that Bhavase is Parasmaipada, then yes, I beg your pardon. I'm sorry for giving you wrong information. So it has been asked to use the correct form of 4-1 for Vishwa in the sentence. Okay. And Pustakam Dehi, give a book to a boy Vishwa. So if the Sutra 4-1 mentions Sarvasmai, so should the form be Sarvasmai. So if the sentence is to be constructed and you have to use the form 4-1, then it should be Vishwaya if Vishwa means a boy. Okay, give a book to a boy Vishwa. So 4-1 over there will not be Vishwasmai, it has to be Vishwaya. Okay, I think the time is up. We'll have to close now. I once again thank you all for participating in this live session, and hopefully soon, maybe next week or only, I'll have another live session. And so that I'll be able to clarify at least some of the doubts. Thank you.